Okay, we're all here. Is everybody good? Can everybody hear?
Yeah.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Awesome. All right, well, it's 10 o'clock, so we will get started. So thanks for everybody for being here this morning. This is our weekly installment of The Juice, which we've been having a lot of fun with these last few weeks. The idea is we gather a group of entrepreneurs on a panel, and we just talk about what's going on right now. We're trying to keep the topics relevant to entrepreneurs who are either just starting out or who may be thinking of starting a business. And there's all kinds of unique things that entrepreneurs think about despite what's going on in our current shutdown situation. So this is a really unique time to have a business. It's a really unique time to be thinking about starting a business. And I think it's important that we have these conversations, and I think it's really helpful for people to share ideas and share what they're doing. So this morning we have Kendall Hines with LawnBot. We have Kris Mathis, and I don't even know what title to give you, Kris, because you have so many things that you do. So I will let you kind of talk about that. And Ariana is with Wallway Technologies. And so we'll basically start out kind of having each one of the entrepreneurs. Oh, and I should introduce myself. I'm Laurie with Stark Garden, and Murphy is here as well. Murphy's our wonderful producer. She's got a new title.
Living my dream of being a television producer.
Exactly. So what we'll do is we'll start out, kind of have everybody tell us what they're doing. And I think the focus today is really on technology and how we've all, obviously technology is part of our daily lives, but more so now than ever, we're finding, that we have to do all these things remotely. And we're happy to be able to do that. But I think it's the interesting thing moving forward is that businesses really need to think about the technology piece of their business, no matter what it is. I think, we'll just kind of touch on that topic and see where it goes from there. So without further ado, I will start out just in no particular order. We'll start with Kendall and tell us about what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Laurie. So LawnBot, think of it as the Shopify for lawn care companies. We help them sell their services online. Historically, lawn care is they're not very quick to adopt technology. So we come in, we take their prices, their logos, their price tables, and then hook it all up to their website so that they can sell their services in a beautiful way online. So that's what we're working on now. We're part of the 100 last year in August, which seems like forever ago, but it's an extremely exciting time. Lawn care and home services seem to be the last space now that just hasn't seen technology come to it. And, our team is on a mission to make buying home services just easy. It should be as easy as setting up this StreamYard today, as we were talking about before we hopped on the broadcast. So that's kind of what we're working on right now.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Kris.
Yeah, so what do I do, right? Serial entrepreneur, that's the title. Serial entrepreneur, my hands are a little bit of everything. My career started motivational speaker. I'm also an author. I own Razor Glass Wine Tours. I'm involved with the family butcher called R.W. Bond & Son in Granville. I own Full Circle Coaching, Payment Investment Group. Like, I love to just dabble a little bit. So if I were to sum it up, though, it'd definitely be serial entrepreneur, business coach, servant. And so I just love helping people and really thinking through a lot of what's happening right now. So I get a chance to play in a lot of different areas with a lot of different types of businesses all over the place, and just helping people, figure out the next step and how to maneuver their way through difficult times and growing business.
Yep. Cool. All right. Ariana.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I am Ariana Waller. I am also a serial entrepreneur, but today I'm going to focus on Wallway Technologies. So my background is software development. So anywhere from developing platforms, to mobile applications, to websites. I can pretty much do it all. And then for Wallway Technologies, our goal and our mission is to develop tech solutions for non-technical founders. So a lot of my time usually is, meeting with founders and small business owners on a weekly basis, talking about their ideas, talking about their future, and actually developing a technological roadmap to help them to get to those next steps. So although I have a tech company, right, where we help other small businesses, and I'm on the business side, but I'm also a techie. So any type of tech questions that you guys have, make sure that you ask me.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So Kendall, talk a little bit about prior to all the COVID stuff happening, you were ramping up, you were gearing up for the spring season.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about that impact.
Yeah. So after the 100 project last year, we started working. I found my technical co-founder, Eric Alberg, amazing guru coder. Like, I dream it, he builds it. Like, it's just like it's a great relationship. So he came in, basically I took my MVP and said, okay, we can't use that, get rid of it. Cause I used off the shelf parts, Google Sheets and Airtable and Zapier and whatever it took to make it work. That's what I did. So, Eric came on in full-time in January, and we didn't anticipate this COVID thing happening, and neither did any of our clients. All of our clients are small and medium-sized lawn care companies right now. They might have 5 to 10 employees. So they definitely weren't anticipating this, and they definitely weren't thinking that, hey, lawn care would be deemed non-essential, meaning, in a lot of states, it is an essential task, but for some reason, some people thought that it wasn't essential. So a lot of our clients were facing that problem as well. They could literally, just like many businesses, they couldn't bring in revenue. So what was nice about it is the thing about lawn care companies, they're pretty tough guys. Like, they don't give up easy. And so, obviously they pushed through, and now everybody's back to work, which is great. The skids are greased. But what our clients found was, and maybe it became, more, I hate to use the word, but essential, is the ability to be open 24/7, 365. They don't need people sitting in an office anymore with our product, which is, they're able to transact and do business. And many of them did, whether their office was open or closed. So it was pretty interesting to kind of see that use case play out. It really just gave more ammunition to the fact that, hey, even, our topic today, if you think you don't have a tech company, or you can use technology in your business, there's a lot of solutions out there that can kind of insulate yourself from these situations of, it's just amazing seeing what people, Leo's restaurant, downtown Grand Rapids, I don't think they made their pivot so quickly to doing takeout. Like, this is a fine dining type restaurant, and they're serving like filet mignon to go. It's
right.
So cool to see how quickly they're moving. Yeah, certainly technology is at the forefront of everybody's mind right now, and it's really easy decision to make in our current circumstances.
Yeah, I totally agree. Kris, talk a little bit about for you, like, raise a glass. How does like a physical, that's an experience, right?
Yeah.
It's meant to be a group of people gathering together, enjoying a wine tour. So
yeah.
We've
been affected like everyone else. We've had to completely shut down with all the restaurants and wine bars closing. There was nothing that we could do as far as, traditional tours. And so I was brainstorming with my marketing director, Nikera. We're thinking through, how can we take this virtually? What can we do online? And coincidentally, I got a call from a friend of mine named Burke out of Napa Valley, throwing the idea past me of a virtual wine tour experience that he had already tested out and that worked. And so we've been having conversations since then on creating this virtual wine tour experience. And so we're praying that it doesn't, but if there's an extension, we're going to be toying with the idea of taking it all online, creating an atmosphere like this, and bringing in wine makers and sommeliers from around the world. As far as Italy, to Napa Valley to right here locally and giving presentations and then sharing the wine, shipping wine right to the customers at home and creating that experience right from their living room. So it definitely forced us to pivot fairly quickly as well. But our challenge was really thinking through the details and logistics of how could we really pull this off with a concept that is unheard of, and making it work. And so far, so good. We're coming along well with it. So
yeah. And what are you like as you're talking to entrepreneurs and you're coaching them right now? What are some of the things that people are dealing with? How are they pivoting?
Yeah.
Talk about. I think the story of the butcher shop is I mean, it's classic, right?
Right.
Tell us,
R.W. Bond and Son co-owners are Robert Bond Sr. and Robert Bond Jr. Robert Bond Sr. has been in the butcher business for 40 years. They've never done anything online. I mean, website is barely up, right? They get all this traffic, and now they're forced to have to do something different. And so they've been coaching with me about 3.5 years, recently brought me on as a co-partner in the business, and now we're building out their delivery. We've launched their curbside and pickup has launched, and we're redoing their website to placing orders. We have now really pushed them into a whole nother lane of innovation that they have never played in before. And we're seeing things increase, which is good. We're seeing the sales go up. Customers are loving the fact that right now they're taking all their orders through Facebook. I mean, they're doing dozens of orders every day right through Facebook Messenger.
Right.
They're just placing it and responding and then filling out an order form and getting it done. And so it's exciting. It's exciting to see this kind of a transition and pivot. But I think the ones that have been hit the hardest that I'm working with are probably the restaurant and food businesses. I mean, you've got some of these restaurants that have been around for a long time. Mom and pop shops have always done it this way forever. And now they're being told we have to transition and do things differently. And that's a learning curve for a lot of people. Even for some of the younger entrepreneurs that we work with, it's a learning curve to think through what is that supposed to look like now and how do I pull that off? How do I market that? If I would give any advice as it relates to that, I think every restaurant right now should be taking pictures and video of every single dish they serve and sharing it daily for the sake of just the curbside and delivery right now. And then brainstorming ideas behind the scenes as to how can we innovate this even further to take it to that next level of creating an experience right from home.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and Ariana, I'll ask you to hop in now. I mean, I think people always think that, technology is so expensive. That's such a big investment into my business. And, I'm just going to start out small and maybe I'll just have a little website, or maybe I won't even do a website. Maybe right now I'll start with Facebook. And I think, those are obviously, it's true. You have to make an investment in technology, and maybe you can only afford to start small. But what are some of the things that you would recommend to people to build into their whole business model as they're starting to build out a business? I mean, I think if you didn't have a technology piece right now, it would be really hard to pivot, and then you're scrambling to get on board.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And literally, I would say about every week, right, when I'm meeting with these small business owners, founders, and they're talking to me about their vision, they're like, I just want this app that, it kind of works just like Facebook, but instead of the logo being to the left, it's to the right, right? And so a lot of the time I focus on the conversation, and what I say, I'm an expert, like MVP developer, right? So I know how to, show founders how, like, maybe when they're at the point of scale, maybe, at that point you invest $100,000 or $20,000 or $15,000 in your technology. But right now you need a basic website. Like Kris said, you need to be connected to Facebook Messenger. And there's so many other solutions that people can use. I know that with Facebook, you can create your own bots, right? Where you're automatically asking your customers questions. Like, you can even do payment integrations in there. Like, there's so many different ways that people can run their business. And what I constantly try to remind people is, what are the basic necessities that your customer needs, and how can we take off the shelf solutions in the beginning just to prove a method, right? So in 2018, when I did 100 ideas and won that for a startup that I'm no longer doing, one of the things that, throw it out there. What? Kris is laughing because at the time he was my coach, and he still is my coach. let me tell you, Kris is my life coach, marriage coach, all that good stuff. But and he's laughing because we drink wine at his house, and this is what we talk about. But, literally, but
I appreciate you.
Thank you. So back in 2018, I had this idea for basically it was like a beauty tech platform where consumers could, purchase gently used pre-owned cosmetics. And then we had a sanitation process, and then we would resell like high-end cosmetics, like Fenty Beauty, all that, average 60 to 80% off, right? And so in the beginning, I remember thinking like, oh, like even at pitch night, like I was like, it's this mobile app, and this is how it works, da 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 da. It'll take 10 months for before we actually physically launch. And then I had to step back, and I'm like, well, actually, there are other ways that I can do this, right? So I ended up building a web platform. So for a lot of you who are listening, you think you need a mobile app right off when you can probably just use a web application, right? Or, use some of the, other web platforms that are currently available. So, I think a lot of times we just have to remind ourselves, like, there are other ways to do this for cheaper. And yeah, you just, you need to talk to an expert, someone who knows what they're doing. For sure. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yep. So Kendall, talk a little bit about like how do you market to the lawn care clients that you have? How do they find out about your service and
Yeah. So it absolutely helps. I'm from the industry, so I grew a lawn care company previously, and they, the saying goes, like, if you want to build a great product, build something that you want in your own life. Like, you wish it would exist. Like, I did not come into this to build a company or do a startup. I had another company. It was great. We serviced 2,000 lawns in Grand Rapids, but I kept hitting this roadblock of, hey, people can't buy online. Like, why is that? Like, there's solutions out there, but none of the other solutions are taking off for this space, this industry. So I started like just tinkering, like Ariana said. I didn't go and try to raise money or, I literally started playing with different technologies and landed on this product called LawnBot, LawnBot.io. Great product. They're based out of Barcelona, Spain. And I use them, Zapier, Google Sheets, and not only did you got to have the product, but you also have to have the market to sell it into, Laurie, like you mentioned. I went and pre-sold $100,000 worth of product before I even, before the MVP was done. So I validated that there's a market to sell this into. But so we're finding our customers on Facebook is a big one for us. 80% of our clients probably come from Facebook. We did a lot of trade shows with the money that we won in the 100 Ideas. We literally went to North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, doing these trade shows. This is historically a little bit older of a customer. They're like, older than 40 years old. And
watch it.
Yeah, I know. They go to trade shows. They want to see you at trade shows. They want to see you in the trade publications. They want to see that, you work with bigger companies. They want to see that you have good referenceable clients. So that's kind of where we're at now. And what's cool is we're starting to get referrals from current clients that used us or are using us, or even their competitors. Like in Denver, we have 5 companies. All the largest lawn care companies in Denver use our product. And they don't care, like they all compete against each other, but they all have LawnBot. So if you're buying lawn care in Denver, there's a good chance you're using our software to purchase if you shop online. So, but Facebook, trade shows, and the old-fashioned telephone. That's how we grew our lawn care company, is telemarketing. We're not afraid to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Jim, it's Kendall with LawnBot. I want to build an online ordering platform for your business." He's like, "Whoa, what's that?" And so that's just how we do it. But we're looking at ramping up and starting to scale here in June or July. We're looking at bringing on some salespeople and really start attacking the market. We got to keep growing this thing. So,
yeah, that's amazing. It's really interesting. I mean, I live in Newaygo. Obviously, it's a kind of a small rural community, but a lot of our retail businesses are doing online. I mean, right now, if it's not an essential business, you can do curbside. But I mean, how do you do curbside in a retail store that sells outdoor equipment? And, I mean, obviously they have a website. So, they're having to build this technology into, you're finding what you want online, you're ordering online, and then you're just coming and you're picking it up at the door. And so, I mean, clearly big retail is online, but for small businesses like a local mom and pop store, a bakery. I mean, I'm just thinking, for instance, I follow Rise Bakery on online, and I mean, to watch what they're doing now with all of their online pickup and delivery is it's amazing. And I just think that has to be probably built into just about any business that's I don't know, that people are thinking about, no matter what it is. We talked a few weeks ago with Christina Van Dam from Zeal. So, and we had talked to somebody at 5x5 night that's doing fitness. So everything is going to some sort of an online platform, and it's kind of amazing. And I wonder now how far we shift to doing more and more online. I mean, and I don't know if it's a result of this or I mean, we've talked to the restaurant industry as well. When you think about the fact that Grubhub and DoorDash and Uber Eats were all platforms that were out there anyway, that people were beginning to use. But now, I mean, it's essential. That's the only way you can really get food from a restaurant now. So how much of that ever goes away? I don't think it does. I think it was a trend that was happening, and now it's just been aggressively pushed forward. What are your thoughts on some of that?
100% on that. I think that platforms like the Grubhubs, the Zoom have paved the way for what the future was going to look like before we got there. They were already setting the trend. And so I think it's a lot of businesses are in a position now where they have to begin to think that way. A book that I would actually recommend some of the listeners to check out is a book called Chasing Cool. It's a marketing book, and it's all about how to take a step to the right to create a new trend in an industry. And so it's an incredible book. It's probably one of the best books I've ever read. And I read it a few years ago, and I used that as my platform to start thinking outside of the box. And that's how I come up with a city-style wine tour. And we're the only city-style wine tour in Michigan, third of its kind in the country, before city-style wine tours were even known, really. I mean, because the traditional way of doing it is what everyone knows. So books like that help me start to think outside the box. And I think that's where we're at with business is I don't see normal traditional way of doing things ever coming back. I think some businesses are going to, like I told you on the phone the other day, Laurie, some businesses are going to realize we don't need a 5,000 square foot building anymore. We really only need 2,000 square feet now because we're going to have all of our staff working from home and we're going to cut that cost. Yep. And like you mentioned with the restaurants, they're not going to be sitting shoulder to shoulder anymore. They're going to be spacing those tables out, and the capacity is going to go from 100 to 50. And so we're going to see a lot of that shift. But the catch is, who is going to be the one to blaze that trail now? Who's going to be the trendsetter to set the bar for this is the new way of doing business, and then getting all the other businesses to chase the cool of that business?
Yeah, I totally agree. Ariana, what do you think?
I was just going to say, through the book and the title in the chat for anyone who might be interested.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yes, it's a great book. Really good book on marketing. And they give a lot of great examples of companies who have created these trends from, Ralph Lauren and Polo to, I think it's Sidney Frank, who started Grey Goose Vodka, and how they come into their industries and they did one little thing that made the switch. For example, Grey Goose Vodka was the first to ever frosted liquor bottle in a liquor store. Frosted bottles never existed before that, but that changed the game because you go in a store now, there's frosted bottles everywhere, right? So they want to blaze that trail. And so it's little things like that they did that made the difference and launched them to becoming the #1 vodka in the world. So that's, I think, where we're at is we're going to see restaurants making these kind of shifts and fitness businesses making these kind of shifts. That's going to have to set the trend, that all the rest of us will follow at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I know one of the things that we always say when we're talking and Kris, I'm sure you do the same when you're coaching businesses, is, what sets you apart, right? There's competition. There's always going to be competition, unless you've invented something truly, truly, unique that doesn't exist anywhere, right? But what is it about what you're doing, whether it's a product, a service, something, a restaurant, a retail operation? What is it that sets you apart and makes you completely different and makes people, gravitate towards you as opposed to something else? And I think that, if you're not thinking about that anyway, you really need to be doing that now, because I think the trend and people's buying habits, people's lifestyles are going to change. I think the world slowed down, stopped almost. And we're all learning that maybe we don't have to move so fast. I mean, maybe, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, people can work from home. We're not rushing around. We can shop online. We can get our food online. We can buy food a different way. We are having different experiences now that I think will shape how we kind of roll out of this. And it's going to, it's just going to it's going to make people have to think differently about how they attract customers, I think.
I'm excited about it. I love it. It's a challenging time for a lot of families. I get it. But from a business standpoint, I'm excited about the innovation that's going to come from this. I mean, we're going to see a lot of new ideas that will be birthed out of this bad situation that will eventually better our lives going forward. So I'm really anxious to see what that looks like.
Hey, Ariana, have you worked with any cloud kitchen startups, ideas, or kind of anybody in that space trying to reinvent that vertical? I've seen a lot of cloud kitchens popping up.
What is that? I don't even know.
Yeah, it could be. Could you give an example of a cloud kitchen? I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, basically like a place where a restaurant, instead of like going and starting your own Leos with your sign out front and everything else, you're just renting space in a commercial kitchen and doing food delivery from there, and then selling exclusively on Uber and Grubhub and all the delivery platforms. So you're kind of cutting out that overhead, but just strictly delivery only, really.
Yeah. No, so I haven't worked with any cloud kitchens yet, but I was literally just reading an article. I think it was one of the former founders of, was it AOL or one of the other companies? And out in California, 5 years ago, they started a startup that literally focuses on delivery-only restaurants.
Yeah.
And for me, because I'm talking to different people from different industries, right, from food to fitness, I have so many thoughts on fitness and the beauty and hair companies that are out there. So if you are, please post your questions. But I'm constantly telling people it's so important for them to realize that things just won't be the same. And the reason why, it's not because people are going to stop buying or stop cutting their lawn or stop drinking wine, but the way the behaviors of how they do these things are going to be completely different, right? So, if you're in the hair industry, obviously right now you can't go to your salon and physically wash hair, but you should be selling courses. You should have membership platforms. If you're in fitness, you should have been doing that anyway, but now you really have to. You should be running these Facebook ads. I know Kris is going to get on that. He got some good tips on that. But, Facebook ads, to link to your platform. And so, for me, I'm just really, it's an exciting time for me because it's like, I've kind of been on this game, right? Because I'm in tech, I do tech, but it's exciting to see how, the way we used to do things are going to just be completely different. But I'm, for all the business owners that are out there, obviously, number one, if you don't have a website, you need that like yesterday. But two, really challenge yourself and figure out, how can I be ready for the next 10 years? So for the vision at Wallway for us, right, is that, we want to be the center of innovation, right, for the next century, right? We want to be the center of innovation for technology for the next century. So we're always trying to figure out, okay, so right now it's popping to have a website, it's popping to have a mobile app. But for, but maybe in 15 years, that's not what's relevant as much because everyone's going to have one. So then how do we pivot, right? So now the question within the next year, our goal is to figure out how we can get into like IoT services, right? So to give an example of that would be, you know, if I own a restaurant, well, how do I help 40 Acres or Leo's Pizza figure out how they can use, you know, Amazon Alexa to start taking more orders so that way people don't have to interact with humans as much, and then, you know, figure out, you know, how to automate their entire process and their entire system, right? And then for some people, right, when they hear that, they're like, oh, that gets rid of a lot of jobs, et cetera, et cetera. And although it does in some sense, but it creates tons of different jobs in other areas. So I don't want to scare people and make them think that it's just robots and, you know, we're all just looking at each other crazy. But it's very important, you know, to talk to someone and do your research and figure out, you know, where's everything going. And then for some of you who are on the call who aren't techies, one thing that I tell a lot of my clients to do is if you are in a specific industry, literally like Google, you know, what's going on in China within your industry, because usually they're the projection of what's going to happen here anyway. And especially when it comes down to technology and innovation, a lot of people who are really into tech and are developing these platforms, we're looking at, you know, their industry and what's going on there and figuring out, well, how can we, you know, implement this here in the States? So, but there's so many, you know, there's just so many ways and so many different reasons why people need to innovate now. I always say, like, if you don't innovate, you'll be innovated, right? Which means you'll be obsolete. And now is the perfect time for small business owners to have great customer service, but implement technology, because a lot of the bigger businesses are not doing well because they got so much dang on debt, right? So yeah, you only start off with, you know, $1,000, $500, $10,000, whatever, you know, whatever you got in your account. But there's so many ways to innovate, and never let someone tell you that, you know, there isn't a solution out there for you. And again, another thing I, you know, implore and tell my clients is, you know, don't worry about it looking sexy in the beginning. I think a lot of times, you know, when I meet with people, they're like, well, if it doesn't have this color, this shade, or if it doesn't look exactly like this, it's just not going to work. At the end of the day, users and consumers, they just want good functionality, a seamless process. Like I remember I was listening to a story about the original creators of Mario Kart. And they were talking about how back in the early days that, you know, it went viral because they focused on like one main functionality, which was like driving around. And then they started adding other levels, right? And other, you know, ways that, you know, you can slide with the controller or whatever. And then, it just became more and more popular. But it's very important to just ask yourself, okay, what are the basic 3 things that my user needs to press the buy button to actually pay, right? And then as you go on, start adding more functionality. But I think in the beginning, sometimes business owners, we're having this fantasy of what things should look like instead of actually figuring out, okay, how can I make this work for today, for right now? Yeah.
If I could actually speak to Kendall's point, Kendall, I actually work with a couple of cloud kitchens and restaurants that actually go that route. And that's something that I've been encouraging way before this whole Corona thing came out. So we were, and my inspiration from that came from the Uber model. I mean, they built a transportation company without owning a single vehicle, and just understanding owning a brand and how to actually market and then build out the brand. And I think that's that's for me is what I encourage a lot of startups to consider, is stop trying to take on all the debt and getting a 10-year lease and, you know, whatever that looks like. First, understand, how do I market this small business, and then how do I convert that into understanding branding? Businesses start up, and like Ariana is saying, they want to worry about colors and everything. That's a branding issue. Branding doesn't come until sometime way later. You have to understand how to market this thing first before you can worry about how to brand it. So that's the stuff that comes after. So to look at an Uber model or a Lyft, or, you know, any of these, a shift even, where we own a brand, but we don't own all the headache and the financial capital and debt that comes along with it. Raise a glass. We own a brand, but we partner with other locations to then leverage them to further our brand, right? I don't have to carry the headache of all the other pieces that come along with it. So that's what I would encourage some entrepreneurs to start thinking from that lens of cloud kitchen ideas, other types of business. How can I start to think about it from that angle, where I'm going to come up with the concept, and then I'm going to leverage the other businesses that I can partner with to then further it from a marketing standpoint, and then build it out into a brand from there.
And so, I mean, the interesting thing is, if you know, as a small business or as a single entrepreneur, you know, you're small. You start out, and if you don't box yourself in, you have that opportunity to pivot and with, utilizing technology to test things out. Like you were saying, Kris, you start out with a product, you start out with a service, and then use the technology to engage with your market and your clients to figure out what people really want and need. And then, you're small enough that you have that ability to be innovative. You have the ability to shift with what the market is determining.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a big company, any of the big companies now, you've got so much red tape to go through to make any sort of change.
Totally.
If it's truly advantageous to not be, to be more innovative and to not box yourself in, and to be willing to kind of go where the market drives you. I think a lot of people open a business and like Ariana, you said, it's like their vision, it's your vision, and you're not looking outside and seeing what the customers are asking for, and using technology to keep engaged with your customers, to keep asking for feedback, and then to be willing to solve the problems or create the products or the services that people are saying they need and want, is really, the strategy, I think, behind a business that's going to continue to grow and expand.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking of, so I have Wallway Technologies, but also have a company called Delilah Cannon. And so it's a cannabis tech platform that we developed where essentially, think of us like a shipped, right, model, but for cannabis products. So what we do is our team, we go to recreational facilities, we, get cannabis products for our consumers, and then, we deliver it to them. And so, also another piece about our platform is that if you are a small cannabis business or whatever, and you have a license, and we approve you and make sure that you're legitimate, you can actually sign up on our platform, DelilahCann.com, and you can actually have your own store, right? So we had this vision like a year ago. We did, I can't even remember. Startup weekend at Start Garden last May or whatever, and we've launched. First we launched a mobile app, then we had to take that down, but we recently relaunched a couple of weeks ago, and we're active and customers are purchasing product. But what's so cool to see is that we had that vision, right? We were thinking about, okay, where's cannabis going? How can we, integrate with this technology? Need I remind you, cannabis is like what? Like recreational cannabis is like a year and a half, whatever years old. But now that we have this platform, we have folks calling out from Detroit, like, a lot of people can't come into their store. So what are other ways that we can market to our consumers and sell our products online? And so it's super cool to, see out, like, even if you're currently in an industry where tech isn't, the thing right now, start asking yourself, what are consumers, how is the new behavior going to affect my industry? And what is it that I need to be implementing within the next 6 months, 12 months or whatever. So it's just been cool to kind of see how we've been prepped for that. This happens. And now dispensaries are like, they're taking curbside, but they're having to figure out how can we reach more people. So, we got a dispensary reached out to us earlier this week and asked, hey, how can we, start selling our products on your platform? So it's cool to, just to see that come to life. And I just want to encourage the people out there, like, even if you're not a techie, there are ways for you to figure out how to implement it in your industry and use it for, your benefits so that you can increase revenue.
I think the thing I love about what you just said is that you have people coming from out of the city.
Yes.
They're coming here to use what it is you're offering. That's huge. And I think that's another piece that businesses need to think about. If you're going online, that does not limit your market to just Grand Rapids.
Yes.
Just Michigan. Right. You can ship and do all types of different things. Brendan Burchard, in his book, The Millionaire Messenger, says, don't allow your small business to make you small-minded. So it's okay to begin to think outside this box and learn to reach outside of the box and move things out, and then bring those people in as well. Bring them here to frequent whatever it is that you're doing, but also don't be afraid to send it out to them as well.
Yes. Global mindset, local impact. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So do we not have like one single question?
Not at the moment. We don't. We have a lot of like engagement and a lot of like, yay! But like,
The only time y'all can ask me tech questions for free, so you better ask them now.
That's right. All right. That
I'm like,
is.
I learned that from Kris. You better charge for my.
Yeah, I've been doing a few of these as of late. I love it. This is the one time that you're gonna get me and get questions out of me.
Hey, Kris, I'm curious.
Yeah.
How does your virtual wine tours work? Do you guys send bottles to the home? How does that play out?
We originally launched a date, and we made some mistakes. If I'm being very honest and transparent, we made some mistakes with our original May 2nd, so we had to postpone it. But the setup for our local tour would be curbside pickup from House of Wine, and our Napa tour, if you're local, we can bring it to you. But if not, we'll ship it out to you.
Okay.
Yep.
That's really cool.
And then we put you on here, and I mean, again, we've got partners all over the place. So my guy Burke in Napa Valley he owns Iconic Wine, but he's also a co-owner of another vineyard in Italy. So he's going to be bringing a partner from there, and then we're going to get on and just have some great conversation around the wines that they're tasting, pair with some charcuterie boards, and really just make an experience out of it. Do a virtual tour of the vineyard and the winemaking process, and really just kind of talk through it. So we're looking forward to getting that back up and relaunched, depending on how this all goes forward. Like, we're getting calls about tours, but it's about our normal tours. Like, when are you guys restarting?
Right.
So we can get on that. So
yeah,
I think, that's what's so hard right now too, is that we just really, there's this unknown out there. We don't know exactly when certain things are going to be able to open back up. We don't know what the restrictions are going to be. I mean, I think we can speculate on a lot of things. We don't know how consumers are going to react. So we don't know, even if things are open, if people are going to be inclined to want to, participate, or to be, to be out with groups of, whether that's groups of people or it's, and it's really, really hard to even plan ahead. So I think, having an open mind and kind of being willing to shift and change is how we have to move forward.
Yep.
I know, like, my husband and I run a fly fishing guide service and a bed and breakfast. So clearly we've been shut down. But as of today, the governor said that charter fishing services can be open, but there are a lot of restrictions on how you can operate. And there's a charter captain association, and they're bigger boats. They're the boats that go out on Lake Michigan. They're big. You can have, you can spread apart. What my husband does is on a river. It's a smaller boat. So keeping 6 feet distance from clients is not really feasible. You can't really land a fish for them when you're got to stay 6 feet away. And then there's all the sanitization and all that. Then we have the B&B aspect. And so we're kind of building our own plan moving forward about how we kind of open up, and we're trying to be innovative about, what we're doing. And it's that mindset is, you have to, I think if you're an entrepreneur, you feel you're always thinking about your business, right? You're trying to be proactive. You're trying to implement things. And when you don't really know how things are going to look, you have to be willing to be flexible.
Right. Yeah.
Good.
Also, I'd say for the person who, maybe for, whatever industry you're in, you're like, I really just don't know, how technology is going to, benefit me. I definitely say challenge yourself to just sit down for a couple of hours and figure out, what are you an expert at, and figure out how you can make a course out of it and sell it online. Like, literally record yourself on, most laptops nowadays have, your video screen record. So if you know how to build websites, teach somebody else how to do that and create a course, right? Like, there are ways, to make good money. And if you're struggling with that, that's one thing that you can do, is ask yourself those questions and figure out how you can sell that knowledge.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
We do have a question. It's a two-part question. It's from Jorge. Good morning, Jorge.
Oh, thanks, Jorge.
So the first part of it is for Kris, and Kris was Jorge's curious. Does Spring GR provide marketing training in Spanish through Dante and Omar specifically. And then Ariana, are you working with anyone like Aztec to help the Spanish speaking entrepreneurs get on board with technology and start up websites? So kind of a two-parter.
I will start and say right now we are currently in a class. I think they've got 16 participants in their current Spanish-speaking class.
Awesome.
And we are still working to pivot for what this is going to look like after this class graduates in June. We've got to figure out some kind of an online setup to pull it all off, but we will be working on creating some new things that will then support businesses after this. And I know that marketing is one of those plays. We just had a call yesterday actually with Dante and Omar as well. And so I'm assuming there's going to be something created specifically for that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks for the question, Jorge. Hi, I miss you. I miss seeing people at Start Granite every day. It's just like, so right now I'm not working with anyone in the Spanish speaking community. So if there's someone you want to connect me with, like for sure, I have tons of resources, allies from all over, like at this point globally, right? So if there are any local resources that people, small business owners need, getting themselves digital, getting a website, even the basic necessities, I can definitely help. And of course, like Angel's my good friend. And so he's, co-founder of Aztec. So I can certainly reach out to him to see if they need anything in any way I can support them for sure. So I will do that. Thank you for asking that question, Jorge.
That's good.
That's great.
We'll do that.
Great. So I think, going back to the food businesses and food, whether it's restaurant, food, product, people making products and wanting to sell individual products, food delivery. I think, we can all agree that that's probably food and hospitality is probably one of the hardest hit industries right now. And I think sadly, there will be a lot of businesses that have not been able to withstand this shutdown. Maybe they hadn't been up and running long enough to be in a position to either pivot or to sustain themselves. And so I don't know what that's going to do to people's desire to be a food entrepreneur.
Right.
I think obviously, people always will want to do that, but it's a risky business to get into anyway. But even right now, especially now, it's kind of a scary time because even the most successful restaurants are struggling and don't know what things are going to look like moving forward. And building a business model, who knows what is that business model? Is it I think part of it's got to be takeout and online delivery. Part of it's got to be in-house, but what does that look like? And like you said, Ariana, doing online, maybe courses or, putting some of your recipes out there, giving cooking classes. These are all sorts of things that I think have to be built into to any kind of new ideas going forward. Is what are some of the other things I bring to the table besides that initial product and service?
Especially if you're in the food industry, although people can't come to your shop, but there's so many ways. If I were a baker and for whatever reason I'm not baking or whatever, I'd go to canva.com, canva.com. So if there are a few of you online who don't know about Canva, make sure you save that. It's a great platform where you can create just all kind of digital marketing stuff. It makes it super easy and simple. And so if I were, someone who could cook or smoothies or whatever, I'd be creating 3 super cute recipe looking things on canva.com for free. And I'd be making a monthly membership. I'd sell it on the site for $15.99 a month. You get 3 different random recipes right? There's so many ways to be innovative. Personally, and I want to make sure I'm careful, right? Because I don't like to come from the perspective of everyone has access to tech and everyone has access to understand. So I don't want to come off as that. But what I do want to say is that there are ways to innovate no matter what industry you're in. And then at that point, once you create a digital product, like Kris keeps saying, it's about the marketing, right? At the end of the day.
especially right now. I mean, we're in a time right now where it's not even about making a sale right now. It's about being empathetic and understanding the situation that families and people are going through, and not saying buy my stuff, knowing that people are not, checks aren't showing up on time, stimulus hasn't arrived, unemployment hasn't kicked in, and I'm still out of work,
Right.
7 weeks later. So we have to be empathetic. So as a business right now, the focus should be marketing, but there should be an 80-20 split of that marketing. 80% of that time is all about empathy. 80% of that time is giving me something funny, something that's going to brighten my day up, something that's going to make me laugh, something that's going to encourage me to engage with you. Only 20% of that should be, hey, take a look at what we're doing new right now and what we're offering.
Yeah.
But that 80% is all about empathy right now, because I can promise you this, the businesses that show empathy now will be the ones remembered when this is over.
Absolutely.
Those people will not forget that you didn't shove sales down my throat, that you showed empathy to my situation. Now in return, I want to support you as I start to bounce back financially.
Yeah. Kendall, I just thought about this. So you said that, obviously a lot of ways that you are able to get the word out about LawnBot was going to trade shows.
Yeah.
So what do you think is, what do you think is going to happen? Or those trade shows typically happen during the off season, right?
Yeah, so they happen like December, January, in the fall after the work year's done in most markets. Many markets, well, in the South, they work year round, but we're kind of waiting and seeing. They haven't canceled them yet, the trade shows. We're still planning on going. Who knows what attendance will be like?
Yeah.
It's going to be super interesting to, see what happens with that. Obviously, we're really strong in digital. I talked to Eric this morning, literally, as we were signing out, I was like, dude, I already created a StreamYard account. We're going to start doing a weekly show just to catch up, right? Like, hey, Eric, how you doing? Like, what did we work on this week? We fixed this bug, or we released this feature. I think it'd be, because this platform's awesome because we can stream out the LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, like all at once. And I love easy. So this is, I'm excited to use it, but we're going to blitz the social media, and not like Kris, like what Kris said, not just sell, but value, like why, like talking about the analytics of it's super interesting. We track every conversion for our clients. So we're like, we screen record the entire conversation on LawnBot. So it's amazing, like when you build a product, like what people click on and what they don't click on, and like, why are they moving this way and not this way, and talking about, we have clients that recommend features sometime, and we say, okay, well, that's great. You're a focus group of one. Like we have thousands of recordings we watch because we're obsessed with this idea of helping businesses close sales. Let's look at the data and make decisions based on the data, not just like how you feel in the moment. And so we both want the same thing. We want to increase your close rate through the platform. So it's going to be super interesting to see what happens. Because obviously we're not going out of business. I don't think it'd take like a nuclear Armageddon for us to like give up. So we're going to keep moving, and we've learned a lot. I mean, I would say, like we already discussed, the pivot is huge. We've done some little pivots. We've listened to our users. Every one of our companies have asked about the square footage. Like, how do you get my square foot? And typically we pulled that from Zillow, which was good. It got us through the MVP, but our client, it kept coming up in every demo we did. Every demo asked about square footage. So we had this idea of, okay, well, what if they just colored in their lawn with their finger and it returned square footage? And we built it. It was like down on the list, the build list. We finally got to it, and it's awesome. I mean, this could be its own product itself. It literally pulls up your house. You just color in the lawn with your finger.
Oh my God.
So easy that, your 11-year-old kid or your old 70-year-old grandma could do it. It's not.
So you color in your lawn, and that determines basically your square footage. So that helps with the estimate.
Exactly. That's exactly how it's done. The house pulls up, you just color in your lawn. And now we got more feedback. We had clients like circling their property because they didn't like read or look at the picture. So now we're using AI to like do image recognition to detect circles versus blobs. And it's like super interesting because this is like not even I wasn't even thinking about this last August at the 100 Ideas Day, but we've gotten so far down this path of having our users and then end users using it. And we're like, why is this person drawing circles? So you're like, okay, let's put correct and wrong images right next to each other and see if that helps. And it helps. Then we're like, okay, well, we need one more step, and that's the image recognition. So if you do draw circles, we detect it, and it says, oops, did you make a mistake? Like, it needs to look like this. Are you confirming that it looks like this?
Oh, that's
but for our clients, it's really cool. When somebody signs up or even gets a quote, that picture of what they colored in is sent along with all of the pricing that was given. So it's total transparency for the company and the consumer. But yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see. Obviously, we want to keep growing, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in terms of trade shows. But
yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of other people that I've talked to who clearly, being able to get out and engage with the industry that they're part of is really important. And if those things don't happen right away, it's, how does that engagement continue to happen? But I think that what's happening right now is with businesses, that you can't be in the selling mode because it's just not happening. It is all about the ability to engage. And I think that keeping engaged is then the next step towards understanding what your customers really want. And I think that some businesses were good at doing that already, but others weren't. Others were just relying on, here I am, I've got this physical business, people come in and out of my door, and that's my engagement. And now it's intentional engagement. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying?
Makes complete sense.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I'm just agreeing with you. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to Ariana's point, I think she mentioned something about Facebook ads. Think about it. A lot of people are still at home, and they're either on, watching Hulu or Netflix and scrolling through Facebook and on the commercials or whatever. If you see them, but we really do well with Facebook ads for our actual companies that use the platform, and then for our own business as well. The ability to use data to create a lookalike audience, and then go to Facebook and then tell Facebook, hey, I only want to spend my ad dollars on those folks.
Yeah.
Best ROI in my life, whether it was Lawn Doctor or LawnBot. It's you definitely need to be doing that because it's a game changer. I'm talking like $5 leads, cheaper than Google, cheaper than anything else.
Yeah.
Facebook is probably the cheapest, most cost-effective platform in existence right now.
Yeah.
I mean, where you can get down to a penny, 2 cents a click. I mean, that's unheard of right now in marketing anywhere else you go.
Yeah. If I could even add, just from Start Garden marketing perspective, it's been so interesting using social media and throwing out the typical, these are the times we send things because this is when people check things. Now it's like everybody's just at home. Typically we don't, do a lot of social posts like after 6 p.m. We don't send emails at certain times, and throw out the rule book. People are begging for content. People want something to interact with, engage with, anytime.
Yeah,
that's good.
I mean, I think it'll be really interesting to see how we evolve out of here, and whether the level of engagement and the level of the slowness or the slower pace of our lives, if it's just all, I don't think it's all of a sudden going to ramp back up to where we were before, but I also am curious to see if we ever ramp back up to where we were before, because I personally don't think I will. I personally think this has changed me and made me do a lot of thinking about the way I'm going to live my life moving forward. I know that's really introspective, but it's true. And I think it's given people a lot of time to put some thought into that.
I think it's going to send a lot of businesses back to the drawing board to really think through how to interact with customers. Grocery stores have mapped out their aisles a certain way because they understand your shopping habits. Well, all that's about to shift. All
Yeah.
that change for all of us, whether it's online or in a physical location. We're going to
Yep.
see a shift with that and send us all back to the drawing board to rediscover what that's going to look like in the next 6 months, a year from now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kris,
because-
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. I think I've learned. I've been using Shipt for a while, but even more so since this. And we happened to go to the store, and I figured I'm the worst shopper in the world. I should not be shopping. I don't know where anything is. It takes me longer and probably puts more people at risk right now of me going in there like stumbling around the aisles. I'm like, I'll just let Shipt handle it, you know.
Oh, that's funny. Well, we are at 11 o'clock, so I'm just going to ask each one of you to maybe give a parting comment, and then we'll call it a day or call it a morning. So, Kendall, and thank you guys all for being here this morning. I mean, I think any kind of interactive discussion like this is important, and even though we didn't get a lot of questions, hopefully people that were listening, found it valuable, and we touched on some things that people are thinking about and talking about, and it's all good. So, Kendall, anything you want to wrap up?
Yeah, I would say to any entrepreneur out there that has an idea for something, I think a big theme today was you need to validate the idea. You need to validate the marketplace, that there's a market for what you're doing. And it doesn't take, you could probably build a quick MVP with off-the-shelf tools for $1,000 or less. So, and just a lot of effort and sweat. So just start, just go, listen to your users, get feedback, and see if there's a real market for it and build something that people want. So,
Kris.
I would say right now is a really, really good time to test ideas.
Yes.
I mean, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now with everyone being at home, and it's a great way to communicate and test ideas. And I would also say that for those that are struggling to think through, I think for me personally, the easiest thing I've ever done is to do what I do now, right? Start businesses, help people. Hardest thing I've ever done was to believe that these things could actually happen for me. And so those who are struggling with that right now, you have to now figure out how to get to that belief that even though with our current situation, there's still a way for you to produce the product, produce the service, and you just got to get really, really innovative to figure it out. And then that belief will kick in from there with you.
Yep. Great. Ariana.
Yeah, I agree with both Kendall and Kris. But yeah, I just say that again, I agree that this now is the best time to test your ideas. Do a lot of research, do a lot of Googling, and figure out what's going on in other states, what's going on in other countries in your industry, and figure out how you can implement that with your customers here. And then, of course, I'm on Facebook, Ariana Waller, everywhere. If you have questions, I'm even willing to, because of COVID, even with COVID-19, we've even been giving discounts to customers for services and stuff, because this is a very sensitive time, right? So, if you have questions, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter, Ariana Waller, ask me away. So
great. Well, thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. If anybody has questions after the fact, you can throw them out there on Facebook, and the panelists, and we'll try to answer whatever didn't come up here today. But thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
all right.
Bye.
cool.